Breaking tonight, a potentially major development in the fight against ISIS. The Iraqi military announcing today that it has taken control of Ramadi, raising its flag over the key city. Ramadi is less than 60 miles from Baghdad and had been under the terror army's control since May. Secretary of State John Kerry praising the announcement, but admitting the city is not yet fully under control. And experts say there's every possibility that ISIS has simply moved outside the city to regroup. It is something we've seen them do in the past. Meanwhile, we're learning the administration's now reportedly working on a, quote, new narrative for the war against ISIS, in part to push back on the growing criticism that President Obama doesn't have a strategy. And we may already be seeing our first installment in this new messaging campaign, as the State Department suggests that bringing peace to Syria, a country where some 200,000 plus have been killed and thousands of others are fleeing, was one of the White House's, quote, pivotal foreign policy moments of the past year. Marco Rubio is a Republican senator out of Florida and a candidate for president of the United States. Senator, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Shannon.
Your reaction to the State Department's assessment about, quote, bringing peace to Syria, and that may be suggesting it's still in progress, not a done deal.
The State Department's a disaster, and Barack Obama's a disaster, and especially when it comes to ISIS. He has no strategy. All they care about is spinning the American public with all these sorts of political talking points. What they want, everything for them is about domestic politics. So rather than on solving the problem, they're more focused on what the narrative is going to be. I mean, that's the kind of thing you hear in a political campaign, not in a national security debate. ISIS is made up of terrorists that want to kill us. They want to infiltrate people into America. They want to conduct more attacks like what they did in San Bernardino and in Paris. They want to capture more territory in the Middle East. And this disastrous president we have is more focused on the narrative, as if it was some sort of campaign commercial. This is not a laughing matter. This is a very serious issue, and life or death issue, because either these terrorists win or we win. And I know what the outcome I want to be. I know what the outcome I want, and that's one of the reasons I'm running for president.
Well, and there's new polling that shows that for the first time, there's an all-time high number of Americans who think that the terrorists are winning. I mean, is there something to be said about messaging and about the president's push to make sure that Americans do know what's happening? I mean, we're hearing about successes with Ramadi and other places with the Iraqi forces stepping up and being able to get some things done.
Well, if the president wants to convince the American people that terrorists aren't winning, the first thing he needs to do is come before the American people, admit that up to now our strategy hasn't worked well, and then outline clearly what we're going to do moving forward. And he hasn't done that. Instead, he gave a speech 2 or 3 weeks ago on a Sunday night in which he basically said, our strategy is great, we're not going to change a thing. Before that, he said ISIS was contained. The day before Paris, he said that. Before that, he called them the JV team and not a serious threat. I mean, how can the American people have confidence that this president knows what he is doing on terrorism when he believes the greatest threat before the country and the world is global warming? These terrorists are killing people, and he spends all his time talking about things like global warming and cutting our military. And so if he wants to turn those poll numbers around about people having confidence in our success against terror, start having success against terror and be serious about it.
Well, and to your point, the State Department also highlighted clinching the Iran deal and reaching the climate agreement deal as big wins in 2015 as well. I want to pivot to the campaign trail now. Donald Trump, the far and away front runner for the GOP field, apparently not very happy with South Carolina Congressman, Republican, of course, Trey Gowdy, who over the summer he was said under President Trump would be his attorney general. Now that it looks like Mr. Gowdy is supporting you, he's no longer a fan.
Well, we're very proud to have Trey Gowdy's support. He's a phenomenal member of Congress. He's in politics for the right reason, and that's to make a difference. He's someone that has held people accountable. You know, one of the big problems we have in this country today is Washington is completely out of touch. You've got a president that instead of fixing our problems has spent 7 years trying to change America. And Trey Gowdy, and in the process has done things like ignore and violate our Constitution. And whether it's on a host of issues, Trey Gowdy has been one of the few people in Washington, D.C. that has held people accountable for wrongdoing and has held people accountable for not doing a good job. We are proud that he's helping us in this campaign. I think he's a phenomenal public servant. And as I said, we're very grateful for having the support of someone of his caliber and quality.
What do you make of the criticism, the fact that he was very much a Tea Party favorite? He's been considered one of the most conservative guys on the Hill for a lot of very important topics. But now people say that he's supporting you. They don't think he's as conservative as they once did. And now some of his biggest supporters are now his critics.
Yeah, look, I mean, this is politics. So whenever you're supporting a candidate and they make a decision, someone else decides to support somebody different, and all of a sudden people start making these sort of accusations. Trey Gowdy has one of the most conservative records in Washington, D.C., as do I. I am a proud conservative. I'm a conservative that not only knows what I stand for, but knows what I'm going to do if I'm elected president. And that's why we're proud to have Trey's support. When I'm elected president, we are going to reverse all of these disastrous decisions that Barack Obama has made, from the climate change rules to the unlawful executive orders to the gutting of our military, gutting of all of our programs to help gather intelligence. We are going to rebuild the American military. We're going to reclaim the American dream. That's why I'm running for president, and that's why Trey Gowdy is supporting me.
And maybe Trey Gowdy would end up being Attorney General after all. We'll have to wait and see. Senator, thank you very much for your time. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you.